Well, now I've succeeded. Some like Gabor Mayer, uh, state secretary responsible for the development of territories, will be our first player on scene. And yeah, you will have this chair. Ákos Ceglédi is the mayor of Palóznak. Tamás Fejérdi, architect, who is an expert in protection of monuments. Tamás, please come here. And there is Samu Szemerei from the Contemporary Architecture Center, and it is very important for us to ask to see András Huszár from the Hello Wood Company. I'm a little bit insecure because, well, for me, it's important to look well, and I'm not used to this situation. How to sit down, for example, to look good. So we could not speak beforehand how to organize this round table, but let's stay informal. That is okay. I'm still searching a place anyway. So we will speak about a permanent dialogue in between development and preservation. Of course, I could see while preparing that round table that some of you are more for development and some of you, the others, are for preservation. So let's start with an introductory question. What do you think, which is the greatest, biggest challenge in 2024 whenever I speak or we speak about Balaton cultural region? What can be the link in between cultural heritage and people and environment? So let's have a classical round table to start with, just like at school, gentlemen. And yeah, you have to answer the question. That is another rule. So one after the other, and everybody has to answer the question. Okay, I will try to be just short. We are quite many. Okay, we are developers of regions, and we've got a law dated back from 1998, which gives a specific status to the Balaton region, and we are really constrained to act in the framework of this law. It is true that it is something which has some history, so that is why we've got frameworks for development in our region, in the Balaton region. So after COVID, there is more dynamism, but this is not something brand new. Balaton as holiday region, well, sometimes creates dilemmas in between locals and tourists. So whenever we analyze indicators, we can really see that we've got an undergoing transformation just before our very eyes. And what we do feel is that we've got some development tools that were used nationwide, and those tools need to be transformed. And local partnerships and local relations should be reinforced. If I will get the opportunity, I will a bit more enter to the details that we can see from our perspective, what kind of tools we do need. But after the COVID, we've got the dynamism, and this is the biggest challenge. Oh, great. Because it's a great topic to start with. Oh, the biggest challenge for us is the following. Can we have a mentality switch? We've got locals, we've got tourists, and we've got second home owners. So can we re-evaluate the developments which are ongoing? So let's have more. Let's have more quality than quantity. This is not Olympic Games. We do not have to be quicker. We do not have to jump higher. No, it is not a competition. I do think that we need to create cooperation. We have to build networks. We have to build communities. That is the biggest challenge before us. And the cultural capital program showed us the way. This is a lead for us because networks can be created. Yes, it's great. Can I steal these Olympic Games comparison? I liked it very much. Yeah. I do think that the biggest challenge for Balaton region is that we only have one Balaton. And yes, if we do want to look on the long run and we want to react on the short run, well, it's complicated because we need to know, really know, what is the weight that this region can support. And we can also have to be clear about expectations in order to act timely. So sometimes we think that, oh, we have time, but later on, no, or it's the opposite. And it's important also not to think in mandates, political mandates, for example. I agree with you, but I do think it's very important to understand that the cultural capital heritage is not indefinite. So really, every single generation told and used to say that, oh, but there is a decline. But what is more important to understand, if we deconstruct something, maybe we will not be able to reconstruct it. So what is very important and the great challenge is common knowledge. I'm prudent, but I'm optimistic. I do think that we've got lots of capital arriving here, human capital and financial capital, but it's not well connected at all. So if we do not create a common capital, we will have really difficulties invested well. And we need to have a common knowledge accepted by all of us in order to understand what is important to us. For example, if somebody comes here to live by buying a house, this sort of person should understand where he or she comes. And what we build is difficult to deconstruct. Okay, if we construct something which is harmful for the environment, it is also very difficult to deconstruct it. Yes, 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 yes. So fences and solar technology. Actually, law protects region, the natural landscape, and also private property. And there is a conflict. There is a conflict. Solar panels, solar cells, solar connectors, it's an issue. But yes. And what is our creative side? Well, experiences with locals. Whenever in 2003 we arrived here, we were students at universities, and we built an installation at the Kearney Festival. And just days before the festival, we got to know people living there and constructing our stuff. And it was absolutely key to create common experiences. It's like a football match, which we really watch together. So that is why we arrived really with our installations and knowledge to this very region. We came back to this very region to really meet local people. So it is very important to us to understand what is really important and interesting in a specific area. So that's why we've started a program lately. And for 3 years, we did some research how we could call back to life a village, a settlement that just died. We wanted to understand how we can create again a community. Experts from 60 countries, states, Sweden arrived to this Choropusta, to this, well, absolutely not known place on the earth, to speak about this very question. And what we discovered is the following. If we are there, if we want to achieve something, we should include and involve local people. And what we did is we created a place to sleep whenever we arrive to this very village, and at least it created some jobs. And now I do think that the community has started to rebuild itself. Thank you. So I've got several questions, and now we will discuss the second one. So I am mainly a teacher, but for you, what does it mean, development and heritage tradition? So, for example, preservation, where does it stop? Which is the moment which kicks off, for example, the development part of my attitude? Well, what we would like to have is to really leave something behind from our hands or and so on, in order that locals could deal with it, work with it, and so on. So we created just like something which is symbolic when we created, for example, some specific place. We really planted a tree that was a specific action, and a symbolic one, highly symbolic one, because this is also an image of new routes, for example, that we would like to create. So now we really also we do enjoy that we've got a permanent place to stay, we can use, and we feel home there. Perhaps and our installation is a little bit bizarre, of course, yes, in this landscape, but it has an impact on the people, and it has a specific content, namely how to motivate others. So we plant a tree, we used very old material in order to reconstruct a 120-year-old building. And all these things are not only actions, but they also have a symbolic weight, and it can motivate locals to act. Thank you. Ákos. Well, you want to preserve. You are very well known for that. Okay, tradition is very good if it is well integrated in the life of the locals. And if locals feel that it's ours, this is good. But a tradition also can go hand by hand with innovation, something which can renew the tradition. So I do not think that we should preserve a 200-year-old house, okay, one for museum, but we should construct buildings with the structure that 200 years ago could have been integrated into the landscape. But this very structure, in itself traditional, should be, let's say, covered by a completely new, modern 21st century technology. In Palosnak, which is the city I represent, well, has its pub. Well, we have to have our pub. What was our innovation? It's from the pub that you can access the library. Oh my God, okay. I will go there and have a look. Tamás, you want to preserve. You are in monuments, if I know well. So what about innovation? Well, the most important part of innovation is the following: how to preserve what we've got by complementing it. Creativity and innovation, well, whenever it comes to a historical landscape, it's not really that. It's much more about evolution, that complete innovation. But what is important is how do we look at changes. A change is never negative or positive, but a change in itself, it's not a positive thing. So, for example, if somebody says, vote for me because I will bring change, okay, but it is not enough. I do think that innovation is something very important, but it's not about bringing things without any roots to somewhere. So, of course, what's important, and Mr. Mayor has just told it, that yes, in every single period of time, we really try to have an impact on our environment in order to render it more comfortable to us. But it's not the case now. We just have, let's say, solution importation going on, and it's not organical. But I do think that we have to understand that traditional things, heritage, it's already there. So it's not from scratch. So, and all good places have been occupied, you can say that. But no, it's not true, because I think that we've already built lots of things, and there are lots of things already there. And somebody, for example, buys something because he or she likes it, and then it starts to change it a little bit, transform a little bit. So this is the linkage we should create. I do think that it is very dangerous whenever we create a conflict in between preservation and innovation. And of course, we do not have, and we cannot even settle any limits or frontier in between those two terms. And yes, there are some innovations that we should avoid, and it is the very case for some preservation too. And when we do speak about Balaton Highlands, its sustainability, which should be put forward, but seriously. And also, we have well, how to call it, legions of innovations available, how to use traditional built heritage, for example. And olive oil trees on the Sandjord colline, I do not know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but, well, it's a good question. I do think that it's a very good thing, because it's adaptation, it's resilience. So I do think that it is very dangerous whenever tradition it's an obstacle, and we would like to add something very often to what we've got, and it's very dangerous to see it as a bad thing. Gábor. Yes, at the end, you will have to write a law about it, so it's very difficult, I think, for you to write on the same page about innovation and tradition, preservation and innovation. Thank God, the law has already been written and published, so that's okay, it's behind us. So last year, we did it. And this is a philosophy that is what we wanted to reflect in our law. So we used to have a 25-year-old law, and of course there are lots of amendments to it, but it was important for us to understand what was good and what we should really put in a new law, because we are living in the 21st century. On the one hand, that's what we already taught, that and we do think that we need much more cooperation. So that is why we just put in the new law that there are some territories which should be managed by several organizations, just because it has a specific characteristics, for example, or for example, sometimes we do need a common platform in order to develop a certain area. So cooperation and culture of cooperation should have much more room after the new law. But of course, it's not enough to put it on paper. It's also very important to be able to define by really knowing our country and its reality. It's very important to define some processes too. So that is why we really studied a lot and lots of things. For example, what are the habits of space using of local people? So where are the services they use? Where do they go daily, weekly? So we do need the whole data before, because if not, we cannot establish a good program. We have to define, let's say, some focal points on the map. We have to be able to limit where are the developed areas and when are the underdeveloped ones. And I do think that very often we just do think that we are innovative, but normally not at all. It's not the case. So if we just really gather information, very often we discover that it's not new at all. But it's very good to use what has been already discovered. So when it comes to agriculture, we can reuse things, and some things have already been discovered, and it's important to not to forget that. And yes, we are in Budapest and we gather statistical data, and of course it's not enough. We have to go into the details. And yes, I do need the help of Reka, for example, and with her help, we would like to know better, have a better image about 5 microregions, because we would like to identify underdeveloped regions here. Yes, it's you can count on us, her and me too. Yes, and gather initiatives. It was one of your initiatives.
So we have a database where we collected data from the Balaton Highlands, and we are very good at that. So anyone who is interested here, we offer for your use this database, and this can be extended as well. One more thing, actually 2 things I want to ask. One of them is that universities are often accused of being very theoretical, and really lots of things we invent, take over, model, which is not sure that it works the same way in real life. However, we know that in advance, but more of you have these in-depth model creating abilities. So when it is implemented in practice, what is invented in theory, how can we get over by maybe ruining everything with small compromises, ruining our whole huge, fantastic idea? So how difficult that is for you? Can you hear me well? Great. So the interaction that is, have you ever seen a Hello Wood project in your life? Great. It's fantastic. So basically, these architectural camps, and then when we started, we had these architecture festivals and camps. Since then, we grew ourselves into an architecture enterprise, and nearly 40 of us, we have projects, and we started developing accommodations, and we had an opportunity in this region for that. So our heart pulls us back here. But if I go back to the creative process in a camp, the exciting thing is that you can't go wrong, because you can learn from each element. So the university student that arrives and starts working with the material, and there we have this 1 kilometer plank that you have to put together in one week to send some social message, and a university team is working on it with a foreign team leader, and each element has a community building, learning process, knowledge transfer, and the end result is a success story, success experience, because something will be created. And it's important that this is an experience, joyful experience while it is being built, with all the difficulties that we have to work at night because we will not be able to be ready by the deadline. In the Valley of Arts, we created this snail installation. So there was a huge snail which you had to take in your hands, and in the front there was Balázs, Galko, and Pista, Márta were going in front, and then the masses were actually carrying the snails after them. And in the Anna Valley in Csoropusta, we went a huge round, a circle, and then it looked like a procession. So this had a community experience, and the creation actually was very difficult to finish. We had to work on it day and night, but it was a symbol. It was also on the cover of a magazine, and those who participated had a success experience and feeling that they together lifted this and took it, and this all becomes memories, because of which memories you return, and these are built on each other. So you can't go wrong. Okay, so working together with students is great, but this is still a bubble. I'm just looking at Ákos and Gábor because you also have an idea about what you want to do with the settlement in the country. How can you actually take this through so that it doesn't become fragmented? So, for example, let's say the pub owner doesn't agree with it. The owner is the municipality who rents and uses the church building. So it can be done that way, that everything is owned by the municipality that we use, and then the municipality can dictate. But of course, that's not expedient. So I think we have to have a lot of discussions, negotiations, and the problem is that regarding the big goals, everyone agrees on the big goals, that the Balaton Highlands should remain the same way. There should be vineyards and wine hills. But when it comes to building their little house, of course, why shouldn't they build another house there? If they want a wider road, they should be able to build a wider road. Yes, theoretically, we have to cooperate. We have to we have to convince them. We had a good recommendation for those building something in Paloznak 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago so we had a civil organization, the Paloznak Wine Hill Society and Paloznak Civil Organization created a recommendation which also introduced the bad examples, and those who recognized their house as a bad example, they were not so happy about it. So some people were offended, but this was all included in this recommendation. And maybe when there was a renovation, they replaced the window that was set as a bad example. So, and then they started to follow the good example. So I think this way you can influence and shape this so that everyone can accept it. And if there is joint thinking, a forum, everyday discussions, then we can shape this. And of course, there are drastic methods, of course, such as what we did, that, for example, we banned any kind of construction for 3 years, or we ordered a ban on changing anything. So this spring, we have already accepted our new development plan, so they can already start constructions with more stricter rules. But until this day, people are asking how long we have the construction ban, and we managed to plant this idea in people's minds that People check very carefully before they build anything in Palosnok, and they don't get carried away. And you, when an entrepreneur, head of a settlement, and local resident try to take a good idea into implementation, what happens then? My biggest cross is not this, but actually settlement, the urban development as an expert field of expertise, and the long-term thinking is my cross. So obviously urban development and territorial development, it is based on getting to know a really complex system and trying to govern this system. We are trying to govern these systems, but obviously we know that it's quite complicated if you want to intervene in something, and we are doing our best to improve the life of disadvantaged settlements and depopulated settlements. This is a long-term process, obviously. Government and public operations and public finances, administrative tasks, political questions are also raised. Time pressure is there, of course, so it is difficult to manage. But basically what I can say is that on the one hand, we are very lucky that territorial development in Hungary is regulated by law for a long time, and there is the relevant line policy created as well from the public side. And on the other hand, we have a very good boss. We have heard a lot about him. He provides us the opportunity for professional, gives us professional freedom as well. I think it's a very good thing if you want to develop professionally high quality politics. But on the other hand, we have to be able to make compromises. So nowadays, strategy it cannot be prepared for 4 years, because in 4 years you have to already present results. So from the state secretarial side, this is a very strong dynamic within the organization. So basically, I think that it's not an easy task to work in territorial development, but we are in a lucky situation. I'm very glad that as the state secretary is also suffering from the bureaucracy. Yes, these rules are very important. So construction rules, building rules, and the image handbook. Obviously, this was needed because of the not so good designers and architects. So we need to start to have a creative attitude to that, because the designers' hands are tied so tightly that here in an outer area where there are no buildings and there's nothing there in the settlement, it's this area, it's not part of the settlement. However, this settlement image handbook define that you have to create there these traditional houses with the red roof tiles and so on. And in the meantime, it's not good to build those types of buildings there. So it happens many times that the rules limit the creativity, and there are horrible houses built that are in line with the rules. Of course, if there were no rules, very strict rules, good houses and bad houses were built, but this way, in this situation, the good architects must struggle half a year more when they are designing, actually, and just to make sure that they keep the rules. So we had to creatively find the solutions. But in many situations, I agree that within the tissue of the urban area, this doesn't fit. That's why we need these inspiring Hello Wood projects, so that we can move out of this set of rules. We have 5 more minutes. You can share anything. I wanted to add to the original question, which was about compromises and research. And this just goes to show that I have very good questions. So, as Tamás mentioned as well, is that architects, designers, when they are talking about research, they speak about completely something else than when university professors or researchers speak about research. I think architects have an opportunistic, goal-driven research, and you have to actually cooperate with the fact that you will never have good quality data, you will never have enough data. But I think when we are talking about a special type of project, there is a very strict methodology behind it. However, the goal is not to have a result that meets all criteria. And the other important thing I want to mention besides opportunism is that very long time ago, the expectation against the projects is that we have an internal project evaluation system, and impact is the most important question. So the impact factor must be measured. So, and from here on then, we have to flexibly adapt and use methodologies. The Budapest 100 adaptation is a good example. Budapest 100 is usually deemed to be a very popular festival that shows the city to the residents. For us, Budapest 100 is a city development tool, and we were very proud of it for years, that we managed to achieve that the condominium owners participated in Budapest 100, and then they realized that they need to invest, so they invested in renovating the condominium. So let's give the floor to Tamás. So I would go back to the original question. What was it? The principles and practice. So let me start speaking about the Balaton Highlands. So we know that this is a geographical unit, but actually it's very colorful. But it's true for the relation of principles and practice. So this is an urban legend that rules are strict, the principles are uniform, and regarding the adaptation, implementation, and building, each piece that is built and created is unique. And that's where creativity and innovation comes in. That for the specific structure, how they preserve the values, create new values by keeping the rules at the same time too. In one of the German provinces, the way things work is that if you want to do something with your listed building and you go to the authority with a checked piece of paper and you explain to them what you want to do, then they tell them that, okay, you have been thinking about this for a long time. This is the first time we see this. Give us 2-3 weeks, come back, and then we will tell you what to do. And when they come back, they will get some guidelines and the drawing, and they will show them the plan or the design. So the reason why I mentioned this example is that they will help them. They will tell them that they cannot do it as they wanted to do it originally, but they can do it in another way. And the time is an important factor, so they have time to go into the details, and they won't give an answer in 8 days. And yes, there are bad architects, but there are good architects too. And the existing values rules can have very inspiring impact. So And I would like to have one thought from everyone for the end. So we have finished a very successful, very exciting 2023 European Cultural Capital. Lots of us had projects or participated in preparation and so on, or in monitoring. What can we take forward as a lesson from that? Mention at least one thing and don't speak too much in very long sentences. You can speak a lot. You are very decent people, but there must be a continuation, and we created the Crater Festival, and we were looking for landscape wounds. We found a beautiful landscape wound. I will remember this sentence. And as Hello Wood, we have an opportunity there that if we create something there, we can direct international and domestic media attention there, and we can draw people's attention to that place. And the Crater Festival, there were about 2,500 people. We left installations there, huge totem stage that can be used by the locals for any kind of event. So I suggest for everyone to find funding, resources, find sponsors, and continue the work. Thank you very much. András is a true creative mind. He never listens or he never obeys. We will also continue with Taiteka. We were present in more than 40 settlements with this. We want to continue with specific development plans, and we are also planning that the Taiteka methodology we want to apply in other Hungarian areas and create a Hungarian development handbook. Tamás was also a member of the jury evaluation committee. Yes, it was a huge experience through the decisions, the fantastic implementations, and the opening ceremony in the snowfall. So the cooperation that you mentioned is very important. My biggest experience was that, the cooperation that, whoa, this is not only individualistic groups, but there is coherence in the area. I would like to speak about, won't speak about networking and cooperation. I would say that Veszprém has become a good place. I will mention again networking and cooperation, and thank you for all the work. This was an exemplary program for us, and we could use this in our territorial development program. Thank you very much. It was a great experience talking to you. Sorry if I seem violent persona, but I have to keep the time frames. Thank you.